Alright, how you doing tonight? I am going to paint another picture from home out here on the Central Coast of California. This picture is a place close by. It's Los Osos, California, a place called Montana de Oro. It's a nice state park. It's got these beautiful coves in it, beautiful rocks, a nice shoreline. So I thought today we would paint a little bit of that. I am going to just start with a what do I have? A number 6 brush. I'm going to get a little bit wet. I'm going to mix a little bit of a cerulean blue, and I'm going to actually use some Payne's gray in my sky today. I want a bit of a cloudy sky. I don't want to have a nice bright blue sky like I've done in some other paintings, but I want to have a little bit of attitude with this sky. So I'm just mixing up some cerulean blue, and Payne's gray. I'm going to quickly get this area wet. Alright. And I want to use that Payne's gray. I'm going to put in the indication of some clouds with that. Instead of having a nice day blue, robin egg blue sky with some nice fluffy white clouds in there. Not what I'm looking for on this one. This is a place, I believe it's called Spooners Cove out here, and it always looks to me like if you were to be here a couple of 100 years ago, you'd have met some pirates around. It's just got that kind of a feel to it. Alright, so I'm going to dab in some gray colors here. I'm going to leave some of that white, and I've got a little bit of extra blue in some of these places. I'm going to let that be. I am going to take a little bit of excess off over here. You'll be able to see that, a very gray, very ominous looking sky. Excuse me. Alright. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up an ochre and brown mix here. Let's see, ochre going over here. I think I need to do this. You've seen me do this before. I've just got a little spray bottle. I'm going to spray my paints and just let them set a little bit. They'll just, oh, look at that. That's better. It's just easier to get the paints out when I do that. I'm going to use this brown. This brown has a lot of red in it. I don't know what this is. This came in the kit. This is a Royal Talons makes it. It's the kit is Van Gogh. I really like some of the colors that are in here. So this is why I use this. But this brown that they put in here, whatever, like I said, whatever it is, it's a very red brown, but we can brown that out, I guess, just by putting a little bit of green in it. It'll make it more of a traditional brown color. Okay, so I need to look at my painting now. This bit is the furthest out in the back. This is closer, so I'm going to do this real lightly with one of these colors. Let's see. I just went right into the sky. Look at that. Take that off. When that dries, you'll never ever notice it. Alright, there we go. And at this point, it's a little bit like a paint by number. Not exactly, but a little bit. I want to make sure I stay right in that area. Then I'm going to mix my color a little bit, make it a little richer and a little darker. I'm going to come up to the next little area. And I'm going to vary my color a little bit. Maybe I'll add some of that red back in for this next one. But I still don't want it too thick. Pull that on through like that. I'm going to go back and get some more of this ochre. Let's see. There we go. And pull that up. Good. I'm going to mix a little green in here. I don't want it to be a bright green, just a dull green color. I'm going to mix a little bit of that. Come back with some of this other color right in there. Good, and maybe a little green on the top. I've got a little bleeding into the sky where it's still wet that I'm not going to worry about in the least. It's one of the cool things about watercolors is kind of how it bleeds that little bit. Now I've got some rocks here. They're basically the same color, but I want to differentiate them a little bit. I'm going to put a little extra gray on them. That might have bled in a little bit more than I wanted there. That's okay. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so this rock, a little extra gray, juts out. And you've got to have these little bits like this that jut out. We need to have those. That's going to help set our depth. Even if it's not in the painting or the picture, the photograph that you're kind of taking a picture of, you might want to find a way to get some of those in there. We need just a few of those. We can really push that back if we have some of those. That and a little break right here, if you can just see it. A color break, a white line, something that will just give the viewer's eyes the slightest indication that there's a break there, that we can push that back, we can make that go back deeper into the picture and give us a little bit more depth. Anything we can do like that helps us out while we paint. Alright, and I'm mixing a few of these colors in here. Alright, and let's see. I've got a flat surface on the top up here. Let me just brighten that ever so slightly. A little bit of yellow. It might be a little too much yellow. I'm going to give that just a touch of green. I think that's a good color right there. Should be just different enough. So the top of that rock ledge, something like that. Let's see. Comes over. I have to be careful because we do have a hole that we need to look through right there. I think that comes down like that. And this bit definitely gets darker back here as we go. The shadows. Before we get too far into it, I'm going to drop a little bit of blue in there. Keep that, holding that back just a little bit. And then I'm going to continue to come in. Let me turn it back around. I can turn it back around now so you can see it. Right back in through here so we can see all these rocks again. I'm just mixing these colors, varying it just a little bit at a time between the brown and the ochre and a little bit of red that we have there. Alright, good. There's the little break we have, our little hole in our picture where the just goes right through. And all of this rock back here, I need to turn so I can see this. Okay, all of this rock back here is all of the same as that. I need a little bit more so we can make it. Good, good, there we go. Alright. Now we've got, turn it back around so you guys can see it again. I'm going to mix up here in the top. Let me scoot over so you can see. I'm going to mix up here. And then I'm going to use these two together. My green and that ochre. That'll help to tone down my plants up here. Right, I want this to have just enough definition. Like I've said before, maybe you haven't heard me say it or seen a video. Our plants out here on the Central Coast aren't really green. I mean, they're green, but they're a brown green. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're from an area of the country or around the world where things get green in the summer and stay that way all year long, you'd be in a big surprise when you came out here, because our stuff stays brown. Even in the well, we'll get a little bit of green in the spring, but not too much. A couple weeks where everything is really green, but mostly everything here stays pretty brown. Okay, and I'm just blocking in some color for these leaves and branches and twigs and everything that are out there. Alright, I'm going to do a water. I want the water to be a gray color too. I don't want it to be bright. I don't really want it to be totally ultramarine, so I'm going to be careful about my gray that I put in there. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. And again, water, like the sky, darker at the top, lighter as we go to the horizon. So this bit of water back here at the very back, the furthest away from us, is going to be a little bit lighter than the water that's up in the front here. So I'm going to accomplish that by just getting this wet first of all. Just putting a little water down here, and then I will let that color just flow back there. I'm not going to push it all the way back there. We can just put it close and let it go. Just kind of like Ron Popeil. We're going to set it and we're going to forget it. And that water that's already on that page is going to do all of our work for us. And we're going to come right down here where the water laps just up on that shore a little bit. Let's see. Goes right across here in this little cove. Really nice, just like that. I do need to darken this a little bit. I don't want to lose my blue tint. Get nice and dark right here. That'll really look like some nice still water. Good, okay. Now while we've got that like that, I had a little bit of run through here that you didn't notice. And this one, I'm going to put just a little bit of our sky color back up here in that opening. And that'll dry nice and light like down there. Okay, now we've got the beach to do. I'm going to do something it's going to be a little crazy in just a second. Alright, here's our beach color. I'm taking the brown, that red brown. I'm going to mix a little bit of the ochre with it. And I'm just going to dull it a little bit with that gray color. Actually, that's not too far from what our beaches look like. I'm going to do this. Let's see, how am I going to do this? I'm just pausing for a second because I don't want to touch this wet edge that I have at the bottom here. So I'm going to start on the bottom, and I know I've got a little ridge right there. And then as I go up, I'm just going to let that brush dry out. So that if and when I touch, just like that, you get a little bit of this red and a little bit of that Payne's gray. Payne's gray is really, when you see it, it's really dark. The good thing about it, though, is when it dries, it probably dries lighter than all of the other colors. So again, I'm going to mix my color back up again, and I know it won't be the same, and I don't want it to be exactly the same, because I'm going to put in this section of the beach now. And I go right up to there. And if I touch that and it runs, and again, we're not going to worry about it. I am going to try and leave that little lip right there, just so we can see there's a little break in the beach. Good, I like that. Okay, so now we need to come back and start putting in some details. I'm going to come back to this rock formation. This is our biggest rock formation right here. I'm going to take the color that we have, and this rock is really striated. So I'm going to start here and just draw a few lines on it like this, just at random intervals. I don't want them all the same length, I don't want them all in the same place, but I do want them all going basically the same direction. Something like that. If I can get a few back there, that'd be great. Okay. And I'm going to come back with just basically no water on my brush, just a smattering of anything. After these have just made their mark, and I'm going to stretch them out, and what it's going to do is it's going to widen that line a little bit, and it's going to make it look more like a crevice rather than a line in there. And if you can just smear those just enough, it really is really effective. Okay, so I'm going to come back. Now I got to let that set for just a second and dry. And I'm going to come back over here with some of this greenish, and I'm going to put just a hint of some foliage along the top of this, ever so slightly, maybe down this ridge line. I'm going to blend some of that out. I don't necessarily want a hard edge, but I do want there to be some green on the top, maybe a little red. Maybe that's a little too much. There we go. Give a little highlight over there. I'm going to take a lot of that off actually, so that when you look at it you can see that there's some differentiation in the stuff back there, but not enough so that you're really going to know what's going on back there. I just want some, basically some texture of something back there. We don't really know what it is. We don't really care what it is, what you can see. We just want something to be there to give some interest to that. Okay, now I'm going to come up to our tree up here. I'm still going to use my same liner brush. This one is a number 3 liner brush, and I'm going to think about this and what I want to be the darkest parts of this brush, this or whatever's growing up here, and I'm going to put on some lines for that. I don't want to take away all of the lighting that's there. But I don't want to cover it all up either. But I want to give it, not movement isn't life. I guess life is what I want to give it. When you look at it, I want you to say, it looks like something that's growing. But you see, I'm not doing it in a real pattern. I'm just throwing it on in any which way or form. We might come back, we might draw some sticks in there in just a second. Alright, I'm going to come back into my water here, and I'm going to give myself some, not really waves, but lines on my water. There we go, some nice, I guess they kind of are waves. It's not like they're crashing on the beach. I'm going to take some of my color here, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to change it just a little bit. I'm going to draw some more lines, not necessarily even in the same place they were before. But this is such a striated bit of rock. All of our rock out of Montana de Oro, mostly, well, actually all up and down the coast here. You look at it, it's just striped, all right down, boom, 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 the whole way. You really see all the time epochs and periods. And you know, you wonder how old all this really is, because you just see bits of it going back, and it must be there for eons and eons and generations. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I should do it this way. Let me do it this way. I'm going to use the toothbrush. I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to mix up a little of this ochre. Right? Nice and soupy. I'm going to get a little towel, and I'm going to lay it over everything that I don't want to get lines on or spots on, something like that. I'm going to take this and I'm going to add some instant texture right there to our sand. That's more than we could do. That's it, we're done. It's more than we could do in 10 minutes of spotting on, daubing on color. Just peel these away. Give a quick wipe here. And I hope you can see these down here. Now that sand has a lot of texture to it. Alright, the last thing, let's see. What do I want to do? I like the hills here. I like this back there. Oh, I know what I want to do before we get too far. I want to put a little bit of white. Uh-oh, I just dropped my brush. I'm going to put a little bit of white. So what did I grab now? This is a Princeton snap brush. Okay, this one's a number 2. That's fine. I'm going to go right onto some of these rocks, and just below them give some white lines, as though it's the water just lapping the shoreline here. And I want to do it at the same direction, kind of, that my blue lines are going in. I don't want to change that. If you wanted to give just a little indication of a water splash, that would be good too. Just 1 or 2 out in the middle. Something like that. And I think that we are close to being done. I'm just looking here. I would like to put on a little bit more color, make it just a bit darker. There we go. I've just put ever so bit, a small bit of ultramarine blue in my green. And I'm just going to go back That's still wet. I'm just going to dab some in there. And a lot of times it's no more than just touching your brush down onto that paint and letting the paint come off your brush. And that's just going to darken some of these up, some of these areas up. And so you'll have 3 layers of paint on there. You'll have the base layer, then you'll have a middle ground that we just did, and then the one just now that we put on will be dark. That will be your deepest cracks and crevices between the leaves there. And there you go. Here's our picture of Montaña de Oro. We've got a pretty mean looking sky there. It's obviously an overcast day, a nice fairly calm water in there, and our beautiful rocks with all the striations on them, not to mention our beach with all the texture. There's our picture. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you try this one at home. I will put a link to some pictures of Montaña de Oro and Spooners Cove in the write-up down below. Subscribe to my channel. I would love to see you back here again and painting with me. Give a like if you like it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.